While my mother was fighting for her life in the ICU, my husband was nowhere to be found. He and his family didn't bother to visit. Not a message, not a call. Instead, he texted me, "Send me $15,000 for my sister's wedding and mom's vacation." He expected tears. I smiled, sent him $50, and then I froze every account he owned. Before the story begins, tell me in the comments what city or state are you watching from? And friends, don't forget to like and subscribe so this channel can continue bringing you more unbelievable real-life stories. The hospital hallway felt like time had stopped breathing. The wall clock's hands dragged themselves forward, ticking faintly beneath the distant hum of a floor buffer that had just passed through. Kazia sat alone on a stiff metal waiting chair outside the frosted glass door labeled ICU. The sharp sting of antiseptic clung to the air, mixing unpleasantly with the stale scent of old coffee sitting untouched in the paper cup beside her. She'd been there for 12 hours. The gray silk bonnet wrapped around her head was wrinkled, creased the same way her thoughts were. Her eyes burned and itched, swollen from the tears she'd shed inside that room. Her mother, Mama Effie, was fighting for her life after a massive, unexpected heart attack earlier that afternoon. Kazia squeezed her eyes shut, but the image still returned, her mother pale, motionless, wires and tubes snaking around her frail body. She remembered finding her on the kitchen floor, gasping, clutching her chest, eyes wide with fear. It was just the two of them in that old childhood home. Kazia's hands had trembled uncontrollably as she dialed 911. She rode in the ambulance alone, filled out endless forms alone, listened to the doctor explain the critical condition, alone. She took a shaky breath, tasting bitterness. She wasn't supposed to be alone. She had a husband. She had in-laws. But where were they? Her phone felt like ice in her palm. Since her mother had been admitted, she'd called her husband to Maine over and over. The first time, he answered, sounding irritated. "What now, Kaz? I'm busy. I'm checking out the venue decor with Serafina." Kazia's voice trembled. "To Maine. It's Mama. Mama Effie had a heart attack. She's in the ICU." There was a long sigh. "Yeah, okay, and? You handle it. I can't leave Serafina's wedding prep. This is important. You know how much Ms. Rowena cares about this." Kazia's heart dropped. So her mother's life wasn't important. "But to Maine, the doctor said her condition is critical. I need you here." He groaned. "Stop being dramatic. Your mom will be fine. The hospital is good, right? Look, I gotta go. I'll call you later." The call ended. Just like that. She tried again an hour later. No answer. She texted, explaining everything. He read it and ignored her. Desperate, Kazia called her mother-in-law, Ms. Rowena, hoping at least another mother would understand. Instead, she was met with venom. "Kazia, don't start your theatrics. We are already stressed dealing with an incompetent wedding planner, and now you bring this? T-Main is helping his sister. Her wedding matters. As a sister-in-law, you should be supportive. Handle your mother yourself. Don't be so spoiled." Then, click. The call ended. Kazia stared at her dark phone screen. Spoiled. For wanting her husband beside her while her mother fought to stay alive. She was the one holding that family together financially. As a chief financial officer at a top-tier firm, she made more than T-Main ever had. The house they lived in? Hers. The luxury SUV T-Main and Ms. Rowena flaunted everywhere. She paid for it. Every month, she transferred thousands to her mother-in-law just in case. And she was funding Serafina's extravagant wedding, every flower, every dress, every designer plate. She had stayed silent through it all because she wanted to be a good wife, a respectful daughter-in-law. She believed generosity would earn love. She was painfully wrong. Night crept deeper into the hallway. Families slept curled in uncomfortable waiting chairs. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Kazia shivered, not from the AC, but from loneliness cutting straight through her bones. Years of saving, working, sacrificing, wasted on people who saw her as a wallet, not family. And now, when she needed them most, they left her behind. Her chest tightened. She tried to pray, to breathe, to forgive, but the hurt was too raw. She leaned her head against the cold wall, eyes heavy, body exhausted, heart shattered. And for the first time in years, she finally saw the truth. Physical tiredness, mental exhaustion, a soul running on fumes. Kazia lifted her eyes to the ICU door again, silently begging God to give her mother strength. Then, her phone vibrated in her palm. Not a call. Her heart jumped anyway. Maybe it was finally a message from T-Main saying he was on his way, saying he cared. She looked at the screen. It wasn't him. It was a notification from her banking app. Automatic transfer successful. $2,000 sent to account Ms. Rowena. The monthly allowance she always sent. The money left her account automatically on the first of every month. Loyal, predictable, emotionless, regardless of whether she was laughing, sleeping, or watching her mother fight for her life. Kazia stared at the numbers until they blurred. $2,000, money she might soon need for additional treatments, specialists, medications, anything that could help her mother. Yet it had just gone to a woman who hours earlier told her, "Don't be spoiled." Something inside Kazia cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically quietly, like a hairline fracture spreading through glass. Her patience, once deep enough to drown in, finally ran dry. She didn't cry. Not anymore. The burning in her eyes was gone, replaced by a cold, still clarity. She swiped the notification away and stared at the ICU door again. The night stretched endlessly ahead, but Kazia knew one thing with absolute certainty. Something in her life had just ended, and it would never return. The next 2 days passed in a heavy, dreamlike blur. Kazia practically lived at the hospital. She only went home long enough to shower, change clothes, and return. She slept sitting upright in the waiting chair, waking at every nurse's footsteps, terrified they were coming with news. Mama Effie remained stable, but critical, still unconscious. The doctor said the next 48 hours would determine everything. So, Kazia prayed, read psalms aloud, held her mother's hand, whispering memories, promises, love, hoping her voice could break through the coma's fog and guide her mother back. Meanwhile, her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Missed calls, dozens, from T-Main, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina. Unread messages piling up into the hundreds. She already knew why. The supplemental transfer hadn't gone through. Their endless financial pipeline had shut off. Or maybe T-Main was furious she hadn't responded. Either way, she felt nothing. Their urgency meant nothing to her now. She turned the ringer off, leaving only the faint vibration, not for them, but in case a doctor needed her. Her world had narrowed into a single point of focus, her mother's survival. On the third morning, after gently wiping her mother's body with warm water and speaking another quiet prayer, Kazia forced herself downstairs to the hospital cafeteria. She needed food, strength, anything to keep going. She sat alone at a small table, staring at a plain bagel and a steaming cup of tea. She had no appetite, but she made herself eat anyway. She couldn't collapse. Her mother still needed her. Her phone vibrated again on the cafeteria table. Kazia stared at it, exhausted, hesitant, yet a small, fragile hope fluttered inside her chest. Maybe this time it was different. Maybe T-Main had finally realized what truly mattered. Maybe he'd apologize, or at least ask about Mama Effie. With fingers trembling from exhaustion and 3 days of almost no sleep, she unlocked the screen and opened the message. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't concern. It wasn't love. It was a list of demands. "Kazia, where are you? Why aren't you answering calls or responding to texts? You're ignoring my mother on purpose, aren't you?" She blinked. Read on. "Ms. Rowena says you're still upset about the other day. Whatever. Stop being childish." Her heart sank, but the message kept going. Long, entitled, oblivious. "Transfer $15,000 to my mother today. It's urgent. She needs it for the deposit on Serafina's new reception hall. The old venue canceled. The rest is for my mother's vacation to Turks and Caicos, so she can relax. She's stressed planning the wedding. She needs peace of mind. Kazia's breath stilled. Peace of mind. And don't be stingy. The money is for our family's future, too. Serafina's wedding is at stake, our family honor. If it gets canceled, how will we show our faces? And my mother deserves a break. So transfer the $15,000 now. It must be there by tomorrow morning. I'm waiting. Silence pressed in around her. She read the message again, then again, a third time slower, letting every word land like a slap. Stress. Peace of mind. Family honor. Vacation. $15,000. Meanwhile, in this very building, just a few floors above her, her mother lay unconscious, fighting for her life. Tubes, monitors, machines keeping her alive. And not once had her husband or his family asked how she was doing. They didn't care about survival, only about the reception venue, appearances, and a tropical escape. Something inside Kazia shifted, quiet but irreversible. A sound escaped her. A laugh, dry, cracked, nearly hollow. At first soft, then louder, until it echoed through the cafeteria. People turned, startled, confused. They didn't know she had just reached the end, not of her sanity, but of her tolerance. A woman in a head wrap laughing alone in a hospital cafeteria. That's what everyone saw. But Kazia didn't care. She laughed until tears streamed down her cheeks. Not tears of sorrow, tears born from rage finally reaching its boiling point. Who did they think she was? An ATM machine? A walking wallet with no heartbeat, no grief, no limits? A cash cow they could yank by the neck whenever they pleased? They expected obedience. They expected silence. They expected her to wire $15,000 while she was too emotionally drained to argue, while her mother fought for life upstairs. Her laughter stopped suddenly. Her face, pale from sleepless nights, hardened into stone. Her eyes, once swollen and soft, turned sharp, cold, unblinking. Everything became clear. The fog lifted. The illusion shattered. Years of endurance, sacrifice, and silent suffering exposed for what they truly were. She hadn't been patient. She had been foolish. Kazia picked up her phone. The tiny crack on the corner of the screen seemed poetic, reflecting the fracture in her marriage. She thought about the $15,000, her emergency fund, the money she had saved slowly, carefully, over years, meant for true crisis. And this, she realized, was absolutely an emergency. Not to rescue them, to rescue herself. With steady fingers, finally steady, Kazia opened her banking app. Not the investment account, her main checking account, nearly drained after paying her mother's hospital deposit. She clicked Transfer, typed in the account number she knew too well, T-Mains, then entered the amount. Not $15,000, $50. Her thumb hovered over the send button. This was the line. Once she crossed it, there would be no return to the old version of herself, silent, compliant, exhausted. She pressed send. Transfer successful. A calmness washed over her, grounded, powerful, controlled. Then she opened her messaging app, scrolled to her husband's long, demanding text, and typed her reply. This is for you to buy some minutes for your phone. Don't call me again. Send. 2 blue checkmarks appeared instantly. Her phone began vibrating violently. To main calling. She watched the screen, expression blank, letting it ring until it died. Then it rang again, his mother. Then Serafina. Kazia pressed the side button, silencing the noise. Instead, she opened her contacts and searched for her lawyer, the one who handled her father's estate. A slow smile formed. Not warm, not polite. Calculating, certain. A plan clear and brilliant blossomed in her mind. The backlash arrived fast. Within seconds, her phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Notifications, calls, messages piling on top of one another. Temain's call flashed again, his smiling contact photo suddenly looking fake, greedy, repulsive. She let it ring until it faded into a missed call. Then came a text full of capital letters. Are you out of your mind? Are you insulting me? Kazia didn't bother responding. She stood, picked up her tea, and walked calmly toward the ICU waiting room. Another message arrived. "Send the 15K now. I'm serious, Kazia. My mother will be furious." Another call. Mother-in-law. Declined. Another. Serafina. Ignored. The phone vibrated non-stop in her hand, like distant thunder anger trying to shake her. But instead of fear, it fueled her. Voicemails began to drop in. Kazia didn't need to listen. She already knew the script. Ms. Rowena shrieking insults. Ungrateful, selfish, disloyal. Serafina whining about her wedding crumbling. And T-Main panicked, not because he cared, but because he was losing his financial lifeline. Kazia sat back down on the familiar cold metal chair outside the ICU. She opened her photo gallery, stopped at a picture of her mother smiling during lunch last month. A genuine, gentle smile, so different from the plastic politeness she'd endured from her husband's family. All her life, Kazia had worked hard, guided by faith, believing patience and kindness were noble. But she forgot something important. Patience should not be a prison. Kindness should not be permission to be used. And allowing oppression was not virtue, it was self-betrayal. For the first time, she chose herself. Her phone buzzed again, another message from T-Main. Okay, you're mad about your mom, right? I'm sorry. Now send the money, and then I'll come visit your mother. I promise. Promise. A word that once meant something now cheap, flimsy, disposable. Kazia pressed the side button again, silencing the phone completely. Not just the ringtone this time, she shut off the vibration too. She needed silence. She needed space. She needed to think without leeches clawing for money. She scrolled through her contacts until she found a name she hadn't used in years but kept for moments exactly like this. Attorney Sterling, her late father's trusted friend. The man who guided her through estates, investments, properties long before T-Main ever entered her life. Kazia stood and walked to a quiet corner of the hallway near a tall glass window overlooking the small hospital garden trees, swaying gently, unaware of the storm inside her. She inhaled deeply, grounding herself, then hit call. After 2 rings, a familiar, steady voice answered. "Hello, good morning. Sterling speaking." "Good morning, Attorney Sterling. It's Kazia," she replied, her voice eerily calm, flat, controlled. Even she was startled by her own composure. "Kazia, how are you, child? You rarely call this early. I hope it's good news." There was warmth in his tone, protective, fatherly. "My news," Kazia exhaled, "is on its way to becoming good, but my mother is currently in the ICU." She paused only briefly. "So I'll be direct. I need immediate legal assistance." Sterling's tone shifted instantly professional, sharp. "Of course. Tell me what you need. Whatever it is, I've got you." Kazia didn't hesitate. "I want you to freeze all joint accounts under my name and my husband's T-Main." There wasn't even a delay. "Done," Sterling responded. "Joint accounts frozen. Anything else?" "That can be arranged." Sterling's voice remained steady. "Most of the assets are in your name, correct?" "Not most, sir. All of them. T-Main never contributed a single dollar." "I see," Sterling replied. "No judgment, just confirmation." "Second," Kazia continued, eyes still fixed on the quiet garden below. "I want you to immediately stop all automatic transfers from my personal accounts, especially anything going to accounts under T-Main, Ms. Rowena, or Serafina. Every standing order ends today." "Understood. That's simple. I'll terminate them now." Kazia exhaled slowly, preparing for the next move. "This is the most important part." "Go on." "Please verify the house on Royal Oak Drive, the one T-Main and I currently live in. It's entirely in my name, correct? Pure inheritance from my father, not marital property." There was a brief silence. Sterling must have been checking records. "Confirmed. The deed is solely under Kazia, daughter of John, acquired before the marriage. Your husband holds no rights to it, not even $1's worth." "Perfect," Kazia murmured, almost like a hiss of liberation. List it immediately. Contact agents, start the sale, draft whatever needs drafting. I want that house sold. This time, Sterling paused longer. Kazia, that's a major step. Are you certain? I am, sir, she cut in, calm, unwavering. I've housed parasites for years in the home my father left me. It's time to disinfect. She couldn't see it, but miles away in his polished office, Sterling allowed himself a small, proud smile. He had known her since she was a teenager, quiet, generous, trusting, and he had long suspected exactly how her husband's family used her. I've been waiting for this instruction for a long time, Miss Kazia, he said gently. His tone slipped back into professional, but with unmistakable support. Your father would be proud of you for finally taking control. Anything else? For a moment, Kazia's mind went blank. Then, yes, the cars, my husband's and the one Ms. Rowena drives. Whose name are they under? Yeah, she already knew the answer, but she wanted it spoken aloud. Sterling chuckled knowingly. Both vehicles are under your name. Payments are being drafted automatically from your account. Of course they are, Kazia replied, smiling, cold, sharp. Excellent. Once I contact the leasing company and suspend payments, along with a signed power of attorney from you, both cars can be repossessed within 48 hours. Do it, Kazia instructed. Do everything. I'll email the authorization for digital signature. You'll have it in 5 minutes, Sterling assured her. Now go. Take care of your mother. Let me clean up the trash. The call ended. For the first time in years, Kazia felt her shoulders unclench, like she'd been carrying boulders she didn't realize were there. She returned to the waiting room and glanced at her phone. Dozens of missed calls, dozens of messages, a storm of panic. They must be scrambling now, and they still had no idea what was coming. This was only the opening move. She remembered T-Main's message. $15,000 for a vacation? She let out a quiet laugh. Yes, she had $15,000. It was her emergency fund, tucked safely in an investment account, built through overtime shifts, skipped lunches, sacrifice, and discipline. Money she promised herself she'd never touch unless life collapsed. And she never imagined the collapse would come in the form of her own husband's family. Now, that request felt like a slap, one that finally woke her up. This was an emergency to save her sanity, dignity, and future. With Sterling handling the legal battlefield, Kazia felt something shift inside her. No longer prey, no longer cornered. She was the one strategizing now. She was the chess player placing pieces, not the pawn being moved. She sat beside her mother again. Mama Effie slept peacefully under sedation, breathing steady with the help of machines. Kazia held her mother's hand, warm, fragile, and felt strength return to her. She picked up her phone, not to read the insults or demands flooding in, but to investigate something important. She opened her chat history with Serafina and scrolled, past screenshots of wedding dresses, decor, venues, photos disguised as inspiration, but clearly just invoices waiting for her approval. Then she found it, a PDF from Red Rose Events, the wedding planner, along with a contact number. Kazia inhaled, then dialed. Good morning, Red Rose Events, Cheyenne speaking. A bright, bubbly voice answered. Good morning, Cheyenne. This is Kazia, Serafina's sister-in-law. I've been handling the wedding payments. The brightness dimmed immediately. Professional mode activated. Ah, Miss Kazia, thank you for calling. I've been trying to reach Serafina and Ms. Rowena since yesterday, but no one has responded. I'm sorry, Kazia said politely. Is something urgent? Yes, actually. Cheyenne hesitated. The deposit for the venue and catering, $15,000, was due yesterday. We extended the deadline until noon today, but if payment doesn't come through, the date will be released to another client on the waiting list. It's already affecting our standing with vendors. $15,000, the very same amount. That's why they were desperate. I understand, Cheyenne. Thank you, Kazia replied, controlled and calm. So, should we expect the transfer, ma'am? We'll wait until 12. I'll handle it, Kazia said, giving nothing away. But please don't tell Serafina or Ms. Rowena that I called. Let this remain between us. Of course. She ended the call. She could let the wedding collapse, let the venue go, let the embarrassment unfold publicly. But that would be too simple, too temporary. No, this needed to be a lesson, one they would remember for a lifetime. Suddenly, a memory surfaced. Kazia opened her laptop and clicked on an old email from her mother, sent a year ago. In it was a link. Children's Hope Foundation, supporting cancer treatment for low-income kids. Her mother had written, "If I ever have extra money, I'd love to help them. Those children's prayers must reach heaven." Her mother never had extra money because everything meant for her always ended up in Rowena's greedy hands. Kazia's eyes burned, not with weakness, but clarity. Her mother, humble and generous, wanted to help strangers. Her mother-in-law, wealthy and entitled, only wanted to drain others. Kazia clicked the website. The donation page appeared photos of children with tiny shaved heads, fighting with brave smiles. She felt her heart crack open. This was where the $15,000 belonged. Not in designer flower arches, not in Instagram-worthy centerpieces, not in the bottomless pit of entitlement, but in saving real lives. This was the answer. Kazia didn't hesitate. She opened her banking app, accessed her investment account, and withdrew the full $15,000 from her emergency fund. The process was instant. Returning to the donation page, she typed in the amount, $15,000. In the donor name column, she didn't put her own. She typed instead, "Donation in the name of the recovery of Mama Effie." Every prayer lifted from that foundation, every hope from the children she was helping, would flow directly to her mother in the ICU. She clicked Confirm Transfer. Transaction successful. Within seconds, an email arrived with the official receipt. Kazia took a screenshot. A simple image with the bank logo, the amount, and the recipient's name. Children's Hope Foundation. This was her weapon. Not a bomb, but a scalpel slicing straight into their arrogance. She opened the family group chat, ignoring dozens of furious private messages. Then she navigated to T-Main's family chat, the one where aunts, uncles, and cousins praised his success and her supposed generosity. The same group where Serafina's lavish wedding plans were posted daily. Kazia inhaled, then did nothing. No explanations, no insults, no warnings. She selected the screenshot of the $15,000 transfer and hit send. One gray check, then two blue checks. Someone was online. Ms. Rowena? Serafina? Both likely panicking, expecting the money to cover their party, their vacation, their luxury. Instead, they got charity. Kazia set her phone down, face down, turned off mobile data. Enough for today. She returned to her mother's side. "Mama," she whispered softly, holding her hand. "I donated money in your name. Get well soon. The children are praying for you." Peace settled over her. Deep, steady peace. The next morning, the sun shone bright, oblivious to the chaos looming. In a downtown boutique, Ms. Rowena and Serafina were in high spirits. The tantrum from 2 days ago? Forgotten. The $50 reply? A minor irritation. They were certain Kazia would cave under the pressure of family honor. Surely, the $15,000 had been transferred overnight. "Look, Mama, this dress!" Serafina spun in front of the grand mirror, a shimmering off-shoulder gown costing thousands. "Everyone will be jaw-dropped," she said. "Of course, honey," Ms. Rowena replied, sipping sparkling water, checking her watch. 9:30 a.m. She had already planned her day. Deposit for the venue, then $2,000 to the travel agency for her vacation in Turks and Caicos. Impatience glittered in her eyes. "All right, Serafina," she told the designer. "The dress fits. Close the deal?" According to the agreement, 50% payment today to start alterations. the attendant reminded politely. Sure, easy, Ms. Rowena said arrogantly, swiping her platinum card. Elsewhere, in his air-conditioned office, T-Main was restless. He hadn't reached Kazia in 2 days. His faith in his mother reassured him she had always told him Kazia adored him. She wouldn't dare defy him. Surely the money had been transferred. He just needed to wait. Back at the boutique, the attendant's expression shifted. I'm sorry, ma'am. The card was declined. Ms. Rowena froze. Declined? Impossible. Try again. Your machine must be faulty. Again, declined. Insufficient funds. Her face turned red. Limit? No, it had a high ceiling. And Kazia always paid on time. Impossible. Give me another card. Debit. Insufficient funds, ma'am. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Something was wrong. She grabbed her phone. T-Main, my cards are declined. Check your mother's account. Did Kazia send the money? Hearing her panic, T-Main finally panicked. He opened his banking app. First, his own account. Balance, $34.50. The $1,000 monthly allowance Kazia usually transferred? Not there. Then he checked his mother's account, also linked to his phone. Entered the PIN. Kazia didn't hesitate. She opened her banking app, accessed her investment account, and withdrew the full $15,000 from her emergency fund. The process was instant. Returning to the donation page, she typed in the amount, $15,000. In the donor name column, she didn't put her own. She typed instead, donation in the name of the recovery of Mama Effie. Every prayer lifted from that foundation, every hope from the children she was helping, would flow directly to her mother in the ICU. She clicked Confirm Transfer. Transaction successful. Within seconds, an email arrived with the official receipt. Kazia took a screenshot. A simple image with the bank logo, the amount, and the recipient's name. Children's Hope Foundation. This was her weapon, not a bomb, but a scalpel slicing straight into their arrogance. She opened the family group chat, ignoring dozens of furious private messages. Then she navigated to T-Main's family chat, the one where aunts, uncles, and cousins praised his success and her supposed generosity. The same group where Serafina's lavish wedding plans were posted daily. Kazia inhaled, then did nothing. No explanations, no insults, no warnings. She selected the screenshot of the $15,000 transfer and hit send. 1 gray check, then 2 blue checks. Someone was online. Ms. Rowena? Serafina? Both likely panicking, expecting the money to cover their party, their vacation, their luxury. Instead, they got charity. Kazia set her phone down, face down, turned off mobile data. Enough for today. She returned to her mother's side. Mama, she whispered softly, holding her hand, I donated money in your name. Get well soon. The children are praying for you. Peace settled over her. Deep, steady peace. The next morning, the sun shone bright, oblivious to the chaos looming. In a downtown boutique, Ms. Rowena and Serafina were in high spirits. The tantrum from 2 days ago? Forgotten. The $50 reply? A minor irritation. They were certain Kazia would cave under the pressure of family honor. Surely the $15,000 had been transferred overnight. Look, Mama, this dress! Serafina spun in front of the grand mirror, a shimmering off-shoulder gown costing thousands. Everyone will be jaw-dropped, she said. Of course, honey, Ms. Rowena replied, sipping sparkling water, checking her watch. 9:30 a.m. She had already planned her day, deposit for the venue, then $2,000 to the travel agency for her vacation in Turks and Caicos. Impatience glittered in her eyes. All right, Serafina, she told the designer. The dress fits. Close the deal? According to the agreement, 50% payment today to start alterations, the attendant reminded politely. Sure, easy, Ms. Rowena said arrogantly, swiping her platinum card. Elsewhere, in his air-conditioned office, T-Main was restless. He hadn't reached Kazia in 2 days. His faith in his mother reassured him she had always told him Kazia adored him. She wouldn't dare defy him. Surely the money had been transferred. He just needed to wait. Back at the boutique, the attendant's expression shifted. "I'm sorry, ma'am. The card was declined." Ms. Rowena froze. "Declined? Impossible! Try again. Your machine must be faulty." Again, declined. Insufficient funds. Her face turned red. Limit? No, it had a high ceiling. And Kazia always paid on time. Impossible. "Give me another card. Debit." "Insufficient funds, ma'am." Cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Something was wrong. She grabbed her phone. "Tamaine, my cards are declined. Check your mother's account. Did Kazia send the money?" Hearing her panic, Tamaine finally panicked. He opened his banking app. First, his own account. Balance, $34.50. The $1,000 monthly allowance Kazia usually transferred? Not there. Then he checked his mother's account, also linked to his phone. Entered the PIN. The screen lit up. Balance, $0. The $15,000 was gone. The usual $2,000 monthly transfer? Also gone. The account was completely dry. "Tamaine, what's going on?" Ms. Rowena shrieked into the phone, her voice echoing across the boutique. Several customers turned to stare at the commotion. "No, nothing, Mama," Tamaine stammered, his voice trembling. "Nothing has come in at all." "What?" Ms. Rowena's shriek pierced the air. "That girl, your wife, she actually stopped it? How dare she?" In his office, Tamaine felt the air-conditioned room grow unbearably hot. His heart pounded. Anger wasn't enough. This was disaster incarnate. He tried calling Kazia again. "The number you have dialed is not active." He tried WhatsApp. One check. Blocked. "No, maybe she just turned off her mobile data," he muttered. But the result was the same. Kazia had vanished. The boutique's atmosphere turned unbearable. "I'm sorry, Ms. Rowena," the designer said, voice now cold and flat. "If payment cannot be completed today, we cannot continue." Serafina, still wearing the shimmering gown worth thousands, began to cry. "Mama, what are we going to do? This is humiliating." "It's going to get cancelled," Ms. Rowena snapped hysterically, panic rising in her voice. She immediately called Tamaine. "Call your wife. Drag her here. Make her transfer now. Or divorce her." The word divorce echoed in Tamaine's ears like a death sentence. He couldn't divorce Kazia. Divorcing her meant severing his access to money, to the life he depended on. He was trapped. At that moment, Serafina's phone rang. The screen displayed, "Cheyenne, Red Rose Events." Serafina froze. Pale. This had to be about the $15,000 deposit. "Hello, Cheyenne?" she whispered, trembling. Cheyenne's voice, once cheerful, was now firm, professional, unyielding. "Good afternoon, Serafina. I am calling to confirm that the $15,000 deposit has not been received." "Yes, I'm sorry, Cheyenne. There's just a—" "Not necessary, Serafina," Cheyenne interrupted sharply. "I am only informing you. As per our agreement, since the payment deadline has expired, the venue reservation, catering, and all associated vendors under Serafina's name for that date are officially canceled." "Canceled?" Serafina shrieked, eyes wide with horror. "Correct," Cheyenne continued, her voice like a judge's gavel. "Additionally, we have received official notice from Ms. Kazia's legal representative, Mr. Sterling. He confirms that Ms. Kazia withdraws all financial backing for this event. Everything is clear." Serafina's lips quivered. Ms. Rowena's face went pale, her confidence shattered. And somewhere, in the quiet of the ICU waiting room, Kazia's hand rested over her mother's, her heart steady, her mind calm. The storm had begun, but she was already several moves ahead. Serafina didn't even realize she'd stopped breathing. Cheyenne continued, voice sharp and merciless. "And one more thing. Your wedding date has already been taken by another client on our waiting list. They paid in full 5 minutes ago. Good afternoon. The call ended. Serafina's phone slipped from her hand and landed on the boutique's plush carpet without a sound. But to Serafina and Ms. Rowena, it might as well have been a grenade, detonating their dreams into ashes. "The wedding is cancelled!" Serafina's scream shattered the suffocating silence. Not a sob, an unhinged, piercing howl of rage and humiliation. "Cancelled! Everything is cancelled! Because of her!" Ms. Rowena's already drained face turned corpse pale. She swayed, grabbing the cashier counter for balance. "What do you mean?" she rasped, voice trembling with rage and disbelief. "They just called!" Serafina cried, mascara streaking down like war paint. "Everything is cancelled! Kazia's lawyer informed them. She pulled out all her funding. We are ruined, Mama! Ruined!" Around them, boutique staff and wealthy clients paused mid-fabric selection, watching the free drama with delighted curiosity. This was better than reality TV. The designer exchanged a look with security before approaching, her voice now cool and businesslike. "Ms. Rowena, Ms. Serafina, I'm afraid your appointment is over. Please change out of the gown and handle your financial issues elsewhere." Thrown out, escorted, dismissed. For Ms. Rowena, a woman who treated boutiques like her personal kingdom, this was the ultimate humiliation. Serafina stormed into the fitting room, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Ms. Rowena stood frozen, trembling, rage, shame, panic, disbelief, everything swallowing her at once. But while the boutique drama was exploding, another storm was already brewing online. The Children's Hope Foundation, where Kazia donated, had a public transparency policy for large contributions. At 11:30 a.m., their official social media posted a new announcement to tens of thousands of followers. Not just a thank you, a beautifully designed poster, smiling cancer patients, soft colors, hope. A new miracle has arrived. Below it read, "Today, we received an extraordinary donation of $15,000 dedicated to the healing of Mama Effie. This contribution will fully fund chemotherapy and living expenses for 10 of our young warriors battling cancer for the next 6 months. To the donor, may God bless your mother with full recovery and restored health. Amen." Within minutes, hundreds of likes, comments, shares, prayers, admiration, tears. And of course, the post appeared on the feeds of Ms. Rowena's socialite circle, people who followed charity pages for aesthetic reputation maintenance. At the same time, T-Main family WhatsApp group, silent since Kazia's screenshots, woke up again. T-Main's aunt forwarded the foundation post. "My goodness, how noble! Is this Kazia's mother?" Another cousin added, $15,000, the exact same amount on the screenshot yesterday, so she really donated it. Then an uncle jumped in. "Rowena, your daughter-in-law is remarkable. Husband asks for party money, but she chooses charity for her sick mother. What a devoted woman." Ms. Rowena turned her phone back on in the parking lot, only to be hit by a tsunami of notifications. Her hands shook as she opened the group. Every message praising Kazia felt like boiling oil poured over her pride. Then came private messages. "Wow, Rowena, $15,000? Your daughter-in-law is incredible." But wait, people at the boutique say Serafina's wedding got canceled. How strange. Is it true the planner canceled due to unpaid deposit? But Kazia donated the same amount? What happened? Their downfall was now entertainment. Public gossip, neighborhood laughter, social club discussion material. They didn't just lose money. They didn't just lose the dream wedding. They became a moral spectacle. A greedy family exposed and defeated by the woman they tried to exploit. Years of Rowena's carefully curated socialite reputation burned to ash in one afternoon. Meanwhile, in his office, Timaine stared at the post, tagged by coworkers. "Bro, your wife is amazing!" "What a queen move!" "Praying for your mother-in-law!" He couldn't respond. His stomach twisted. His face burned. He looked like a clown juggling fire, publicly. Rage, panic, shame, all reaching boiling point. Minutes later, the three of them, Rowena, Serafina, and Tamaine, met in the parking lot. No words necessary. Their faces said everything. "This will not stand," Rowena hissed, eyes bloodshot. "She humiliated us. We go now. We make her pay." "Yes," Tamaine muttered. His ego was shattered beyond repair. He didn't care about the money anymore. He wanted dominance back. The husband role he thought he deserved. "I'm coming," Serafina snapped, unhinged. "I'll rip that bonnet off her head myself." Fueled by rage, they climbed into Tamaine's car, ironically paid for by Kazia, and sped toward the hospital. They didn't know it would be the last time they ever rode in that car. They burst into the hospital lobby like a storm, loud, frantic, entitled, ignoring every stare, every whisper. They marched to the reception desk. "We want to see Kazia," Ms. Rowena demanded. "Tell us where her mother is." "Excuse me, sir," the receptionist said, startled by Tamaine's abrupt tone. "Patient's name?" "Effie. Mama Effie," Ms. Rowena interjected impatiently. The receptionist typed quickly, then looked up, her expression professional but firm. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Sir, the patient, Mama Effie, is in the ICU." "We're going to the ICU," Tamaine interrupted, stepping toward the elevator. "Wait, sir!" Two burly hospital security guards suddenly blocked their path, standing like immovable walls. "What is this?" Tamaine's voice rose, frustration sharp. The taller guard looked them over calmly. "Excuse me, sir, ma'am. By special request of Miss Kazia, the patient's responsible party, we have received clear instructions. Mr. Tamaine, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina are specifically prohibited from visiting the patient or meeting with Ms. Kazia anywhere in this hospital." The words hit like a concrete wall. Tamaine, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina froze. The lobby suddenly felt suffocating, the footsteps of visitors and nurses stabbing at their embarrassment. The guard stood firm, professional, but absolute. "You can't do this!" Tamaine stepped forward, trying to reclaim authority. "I am her husband. Kazia is my wife. I have rights." The taller guard tilted his head slightly. "I'm sorry, sir. Your rights as a husband do not override the instructions of the patient's legal guardian. Miss Kazia specifically named all three of you. You are considered unwanted guests with the potential to disturb the patient's peace." "Disturb the peace?" Ms. Rowena hissed, her face flaming with fury. "We're family! We have the right!" The second guard's voice was low, threatening. "I strongly suggest you leave the lobby now. Any disturbance will force us to call internal security." Ms. Rowena's dignity, already in ruins, was trampled further. First the boutique, now the hospital. Serafina, who had remained motionless until now, began to sob. "Enough, Mama. Let's go. This is humiliating," she whispered, tugging at her mother's sleeve. Tamaine stared at the elevator, as if sheer will could pierce the floors and find Kazia. Hate and fear warred in his eyes. He finally understood. Kazia was more powerful than he'd ever imagined. He was dependent on a woman he had underestimated. With heavy, defeated steps, the trio retreated to the parking lot. The ride back in Kazia's own car was suffocatingly silent. No one spoke. Ms. Rowena stared blankly out the window, jaw clenched. Serafina sobbed hysterically in the back seat. Tamaine's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Their destination? Home, Royal Oak Drive. They needed a plan. Persuade, threaten, force, whatever it took to restore control. But the illusion of control ended abruptly. As the car approached their house, Tamaine slammed on the brakes. A black sedan blocked the driveway. Two men in formal suits stood at the wrought iron gate. One of them affixed a large white notice to the gate. Who is that?" Ms. Rowena hissed, confusion giving way to alertness. Tamaine didn't answer. He stepped out, followed by Ms. Rowena and Serafina. The man in the suit regarded them calmly. "Excuse me, whose house is this?" Tamane's voice sharpened with aggression. "It's mine! What's going on?" The man handed him a thick brown envelope. "We are from Sterling and Associates, legal representatives of Ms. Kazia. This is a formal warning. The notice on the gate is an official legal notice." Tamane tore open the envelope, hands shaking. He read the contents aloud, voice faltering. "The property at 12 Royal Oak Drive is the absolute property of Ms. Kazia. Mr. Tamane, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina no longer have permission to occupy the residence. This property is officially listed for sale through a licensed real estate agent. You are given 14 days from the date of this notice to vacate and return all keys. Any refusal to comply or attempt to damage the property will be prosecuted criminally." 14 days? Vacate the house? Tamane repeated, disbelief cracking his voice. "This was your house!" he shouted, crumpling the letter in frustration. "I am her husband!" "I'm sorry, sir," the man said evenly, unmoved. "The law is clear." Tamane, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina stared at the house they thought they controlled. The fortress of their entitlement was gone. Kazia had dismantled it, legally, decisively, irrevocably. The property deed is in Ms. Kazia's name, obtained prior to marriage. It is her exclusive property. We are only doing our duty, the man from Sterling and Associates said firmly. Beside him, Ms. Rowena's eyes scanned the large, bold letters plastered on the gate. "This property is for sale under legal supervision. No trespassing. Contact Mr. Sterling." "No, it can't be." Ms. Rowena staggered backward, clutching the gate pillar for support. Neighbors walking by paused, whispering and pointing at the unfolding scene. "Kazia!" she screamed, rage and disbelief coiling in her throat. "She's crazy! She's kicking us out!" Tamane stood frozen, the warning letter still clutched in his hand. His mind couldn't process it. He had just lost his home. A low rumble drew their attention down the street. A massive yellow tow truck slowly approached, stopping directly behind Tamane's SUV. Behind it, 2 motorcycles screeched to a halt. Men in leather jackets swung down, repo men. The tow truck driver, hard-faced and immovable, strode up to Tamane. "Excuse me, is this the silver SUV, license plate number?" Tamane, still in shock, nodded mutely. The man held up a repossession order. "We are from the leasing company. The owner has unilaterally stopped the payment of notes in the name of Ms. Kazia for this vehicle. Per the contract, we have been instructed to seize this unit. Hand over the keys immediately, sir." Tamane's eyes darted from the letter, to his car, to the imposing repo man. His mind registered the truth in slow, cruel clarity. This car, the one he flaunted to friends, the one he used to pamper his mother, was Kazia's. "No, wait. This is a misunderstanding. I'll pay," he stammered. "Sorry, sir. The order is to seize, not negotiate. You have the keys." "This is my car. Get lost!" Tamane shouted, panic rising. The repo man signaled the 2 motorcyclists. Their presence loomed. "Will you hand them over peacefully, or must we take them by force?" he asked flatly. Serafina screamed in terror. Ms. Rowena stood frozen, her face pale as death. Tamane's hands trembled violently. He looked left, law firm representative. He looked right, repo men. In front of him, the for sale sign on the gate glared accusingly. They were trapped, totally cornered. With hands shaking uncontrollably, Tamane dug into his pocket and flung the keys to the ground. "Take them," he hissed, voice breaking from rage and humiliation. The repo man bent, picked up the keys, and said calmly, "Thank you for your cooperation." He climbed into the SUV, started it, and slowly drove it onto the tow truck. The man from Sterling and Associates nodded once. "Our work here is done. Good afternoon." The tow truck rumbled to life, hauling Tamane's prized vehicle away. Tamane, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina stood on the sidewalk in front of the house that no longer belonged to them. No car, no money, no dignity. All eyes of the neighbors were upon them, witnessing their complete downfall. In less than 3 hours, they had lost everything. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in brilliant shades of gold and orange. But for Tamain, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina, it felt like mockery. They still stood on the sidewalk in front of the house that now seemed alien. The gate was locked, the for sale sign glaring, almost laughing at them. Neighbors, who had previously whispered, now lingered openly, pretending to water plants or clean cars while sneaking glances. "Get inside," hissed Tamain, rattling the gate. Locked. Of course, Kazia had ensured only she could access it. "So, what do we do?" Serafina shrieked, hysterical. "We're going to sleep on the street. Tamain, do something! You are her husband!" "Shut up!" Tamain snapped. "Do you think it's easy?" Ms. Rowena, pale until now, bristled with cold rage. "We can't stay here. It's humiliating. Let's go." "Go where?" Tamain asked, bewildered. "No car, no money." "Call relatives," Ms. Rowena urged. "Call Aunt Fatima, your uncle. Have them pick us up." Tamain hesitated. His family had always kept distance from his in-laws. Reluctantly, he called his uncle. "Hello, Tamain." "Hello, uncle. Could you—" "Oh, yes, Trey. I saw the foundation's post. $15,000. Your wife Kazia is amazing, devoted, charitable. You are very lucky." Tamain went silent. The news had spread like wildfire. "Trey, hello? Why are you quiet?" "Yes, uncle. We have a problem on the road. Could you—" "Oh, sorry, I'm out of town on business. Another time. Send my regards to Kazia. I'm proud of her." Click. Aunt Fatima responded similarly, busy, distant, praising Kazia's actions, leaving Tamain, Ms. Rowena, and Serafina isolated. The $15,000 donation had turned Kazia into an angel in the eyes of everyone, and them into greedy, humiliated antagonists. Serafina, desperate, thought of Trayvon, her fiancé. She dialed, trembling. "Hello, baby, help me! Kazia kicked us out!" she cried. Trayvon's voice was icy. "I know, Serafina. Your mother called. Venue cancellation penalty, $5,000. Your sister-in-law washed her hands of it. My mother says you must handle it yourself. Where are you?" Serafina's hope crumbled. She sent her location. 30 minutes later, a luxury sedan arrived, Trayvon and his mother stepping out. "So, this is Ms. Rowena?" Trayvon's mother said bluntly, disdain dripping from her words. "A family living off their daughter-in-law?" Ms. Rowena's voice quavered. "Watch your mouth." "I don't have to," Trayvon's mother snapped. "You humiliated my family. You ordered a wedding without funds. Now you owe $5,000. Here's the invoice." She flung a paper at Serafina's chest and walked away. The couple drove off, leaving Serafina slumped on the sidewalk, Tamain and Ms. Rowena staring in disbelief. Evicted, carless, penniless, mocked by neighbors, and chased by debt, they had hit rock bottom. That night, they pooled Tamain's remaining cash and Kazia's forgotten $50 to hail a ride to the most humiliating place he could imagine, a tiny, cramped rental he'd rented as a student. Small, stuffy, smelling of sewage, this was now their reality. The next morning, Tamain tried to go to his office. Bus ride, swipe access card, red light, denied. HR informed him of termination, citing company restructuring. He knew better. Kazia's influence had reached even his workplace. Back at the alley rental, Ms. Rowena and Serafina sat blankly on the floor. Ms. Rowena's final hope, her jewelry, proved worthless. Bracelets, necklaces, rings, all fakes. Purchased with Kazia's money, her pride had been built on illusions. Meanwhile, in the ICU, Kazia's world had shifted. Her focus was solely on Mama Effie. Every day she read psalms aloud, whispered prayers, reassured her mother of the $15,000 donation, and planted hope like seeds in the air. Then the miracle came. Mama Effie's fingers twitched beneath Kazia's hand. Eyelids fluttered. Eyes opened, blurry at first, then locking onto her daughter's face. Tears streamed down Kazia's cheeks, tears of joy, not pain. The doctors rushed in. Chief among them smiled in disbelief. Her vitals improved drastically 5 days ago. Today, she woke up. Miss Effie's fighting spirit is extraordinary. Kazia smiled through tears. It's because of the prayers, doctor, the children's prayers. Days later, Mama Effie was off the ventilator and transferred to a private room. Kazia nurtured her back to strength, telling her nothing of T-Main's betrayal. Only, Mama, Kazia is processing a separation with T-Main. Pray for me. Mama Effie nodded knowingly. Mr. Sterling visited the hospital with final updates. The house sold above market value, T-Main fired, living in a shabby rental, and now pursued for the $5,000 wedding penalty. Kazia remained calm, relieved. Sterling handed her a pen and divorce petition. All terms included: spousal abandonment, moral and material damages. Sign here. Kazia thought of her wedding day, the promise of obedience, and realized it had been mistaken. She inhaled deeply and signed firmly. This was no mere divorce. It was her declaration of independence. 2 weeks later, Mama Effie returned home, wheelchair temporarily needed, spirit fully restored. They moved into a smaller but cozy house prepared by Mr. Sterling. Laughter, warmth, and shared meals filled the air. One day, a disheveled T-Main appeared at the lobby, begging forgiveness. Kazia's face betrayed nothing. No anger, no hatred, only clarity. "Excuse me, who are you?" she said, cold and composed. He froze. She wheeled her mother forward, and together they walked out into the sunlight, never looking back. 6 months later, at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, Kazia and Mama Effie returned from a luxurious European trip. Mama Effie, radiant and healthy, held tulips from Amsterdam. Kazia, modern and confident, pushed the luggage cart, smiling brightly. "How wonderful," she said. "Vienna, Istanbul. It was incredible, right, Mama?" "Incredible, daughter," Mama Effie replied, teasing. "Much better than the other plans." They laughed together, free, wealthy in spirit and reality, untouched by the greed and failures left behind. Kazia's life was hers again, financially, morally, and emotionally. With her newfound determination, Kazia had turned the company around in just 6 months. She was now a respected CEO, admired for both her intelligence and integrity. On the other side of town, in a cramped rental house tucked into a narrow, stifling alley, a peeling door swung open, and a scream echoed. "You've been playing on your phone all morning. Useless! Help me sew this! The customers' orders are waiting!" It was Ms. Rowena's voice. She looked 10 years older. Her hair, once always perfectly styled, was now thin and tied up any old way. She sat on the floor amid piles of fabric scraps, hunched over an old sewing machine, altering clothes for neighbors who paid her only $5 apiece. Serafina, equally disheveled, flopped onto the mattress. "What is it, Mama? I'm trying to do a live stream to sell stuff, but nobody is watching," she yelled, frustrated. "All this is your fault, Mama, for your greed. If you'd been nice to Kazia, our life wouldn't be like this." "How dare you blame me?" Ms. Rowena snapped, her eyes bloodshot. "It's all your fault, spoiled girl, asking for a lavish wedding. And because of your brother, that coward T-Main. He hasn't sent money in a month. Who knows where he is now? He doesn't send money because he doesn't have any," shrieked Serafina. "Do you think a day laborer earns much? Enough to feed himself, and that's it. Bah, you are all the same useless children." Ms. Rowena, in a fit of rage, threw a deflated feather pillow at Serafina. The two erupted into a loud fight, pulling hair, cursing, and squabbling over whose turn it was to eat the last packet of instant noodles. They were trapped in a cycle of poverty, humiliation, and mutual blame. Elsewhere, at a muddy loading dock smelling of fish, the sun had just risen. A thin, sunburnt man, T-Main, was soaked in sweat. His t-shirt was torn at the shoulder, clinging to his bony back. He struggled to push a hand truck loaded with hundreds of pounds of rice sacks. "Hey, Tamain, faster! Don't just stand there staring!" shouted a foreman. Out of breath, Tamain nodded and pushed with all his remaining strength, wheeling the heavy load to the edge of the road where a truck waited. Pausing to catch his breath, he wiped the sweat from his forehead and glanced across the street. There, atop a building, a giant video screen broadcast a live morning awards show. The camera focused on a woman walking up to the stage with poise and radiance. She wore an elegant cream-colored head wrap and accepted a crystal trophy with a bright, confident smile. It was Kazia. Below the image, the text read, "Kazia, daughter of John, honored for her dedication to social programs through the Children's Hope Foundation." Tamain froze. His heart ached. The hand truck felt impossibly heavy. The face he had once taken for granted, the woman he had wasted, now shone like a star, radiant, untouchable, and far beyond his reach. At that very moment, a sleek black luxury car stopped at the traffic light beside him. The windows were tinted. Inside, Kazia had just finished a call with her mother. "Yes, Mama, Kazia is already on her way to the office. Rest, please." She set down her phone and looked out the window at the everyday scene. Laborers, trucks, and the busy street. She didn't see Tamain specifically. She just smiled. A soft, satisfied smile, not from anyone else's suffering, but from gratitude for her own life. She had weathered the storm and finally found her rainbow. The light turned green. The luxury car glided smoothly over the asphalt, turning toward the skyscrapers where her office awaited. Meanwhile, Tamain remained frozen, staring at the giant screen. The horn of the truck behind him blared, snapping him back to reality. "Hey, move it! You're blocking the way!" Startled, he lowered his head, hiding a face soaked in sweat and tears of regret. Gripping the hand truck again, he pushed on with all the strength he had left, carrying the weight of his karma under the harsh morning sun. Did you enjoy the story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments and share your thoughts. If this story moved you, you can support me with a super thanks. It helps me keep bringing more inspiring life stories like this one. Thank you so much for your love and support. It truly means the world. On your screen, you'll also find 2 new life stories I highly recommend. There's so much more waiting for you on my channel, so don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story, always with love and respect.